All right, so here we have Yamaha PX3 side by side with the Mitsubishi LT30. Now I have I've shot some video covering kind of a mini review on each one of these. Excuse me while I reposition the camera. These turntables are so large I could hardly get them in frame. I can't really get them in frame sitting next to each other. But these are linear trackers from right around 1980, 1981, right? Probably head-to-head competition. This is top of the line. This is not. I think the PX1 was top of the line. But I would say in terms of secondary market pricing on both of these, that they're very comparable, right? Now there's going to be a lot of glare here, but I will close these just so you can see kind of what they look like when they're closed. You can see the Mitsubishi is quite a bit taller, about an inch taller. I gave the dimensions, and I'll flash them up on the screen. I gave the dimensions for the review for each one. The Mitsubishi is larger, right? Length, width, height, about an inch larger or half inch larger in all directions. And let me pause this while my clock does its thing. I normally don't shoot videos in the house, at least not in the kitchen. So I had to wait for the clock to do its thing. So here's where I want to pick up. I think I was talking about, I don't even know what I was talking about. So let's just go into, size and weight wise, they're very close. The Mitsubishi is a little bit larger. The Mitsubishi is also 6 pounds heavier. And believe it or not, lugging these around, one right after the other, it's a noticeable 6 pounds, which is very interesting. You wouldn't think 6 pounds would be that much, but I mean, you know, it actually is. In terms of functions, both turntables share similar but not the same functions. So they both are quartz lock. You can manually move the tone arm via controls, up and down, right and left. You can manually pick the speed, right? And I believe it automatically adjusts the size for each one once you designate the speed, right? So that's an important caveat there. So in terms of the basic functionality, they're almost identical except for one major difference. The Mitsubishi will automatically sense the size of a record. See these little openings here in the slip mat? If I put a 45 on and I hit start, it's going to automatically adjust to a 45. Can't do that on the Yamaha. The Yamaha, there is no start and stop. There is a size button, 17 or 33 disc size. So naturally that's 45 or I'm sorry, 17 or 30, 45 or 33, and then there's a cut button. So automatically will adjust to the size of the record, assuming the record is solid. If it's opaque, if you can see through it, if it's a disc that's any type of color other than black that you can't see through, this is going to have a hard time automatically adjusting, right? So that's a major difference between the functionality of both. If you look at the individual videos, you'll see the difference in how quiet the Mitsubishi is versus the Yamaha. When you hear the Yamaha, when I hit start, you can actually hear the motor running as the tone arm moves over. Tone arm does move quite a bit faster though. It's a different mechanism for the tone arm to move. This sits on a belt. This sits on a rail. This is quieter, but I mean, you can almost, boil a pot of coffee. If you're going to manually move the tone arm over, it's that slow. So function-wise, very similar. In terms of, so I'm going to have a chart at the end where I'm going to review all of these things. So I'm not going to really go into the head-to-head right now. I'll do that when I edit the video. But there are going to be some differences, and I'm going to kind of pick a winner in my point of view, right? So size-wise close, function close, but there is a difference between the two. Something just made a noise. It's very, very cold outside. So price-wise, when I was looking at prices, and again, I'll cover this in the chart that I go over at the end, the Mitsubishi was a little bit less than the Yamaha. The prices are very, very close, but these you can pick up for a little less money than the Yamaha. And then again, this isn't even the top of the line. This is the PX3. So I thought that was interesting. When I was looking at maintenance required Linear tracking turntables require maintenance. People that have serviced one versus the other, I saw more negative comments on the serviceability of the Mitsubishi and the reliability of the Mitsubishi versus the Yamaha. Now, I didn't do a super deep dive. I did just a very superficial kind of look at it. I didn't find a lot of negative in terms of routine maintenance and service on the Yamaha. Not nearly as much as I did on the Mitsubishi. So maintenance may be a little bit easier on this. This wasn't one of my factors that I included in my final slide at the end. Maybe I'll add that in there. But maintenance might be a little bit easier on the Yamaha. Let's see. So, and then price is where I started. I was really shocked that the Mitsubishis are less than the Yamahas, and even for parts, Mitsubishis can be picked up for less than the Yamahas. So you're spending more on this one, most likely. And when I say spending more, I'm talking probably $100. At least that's as of yesterday when I looked it up, right? And that can change at any time. The last thing, aesthetics. I'll choose my victor, right, when it comes to aesthetics. I've mentioned this a little bit in either video, what I prefer, but I'll save that for the end of this one. Depending upon your system and your setup, what you like to stare at, like I tell customers that go to the shop, it comes down to what you want to look at and how much you want to spend, right? I didn't do a sound comparison between the two because, number one, that's lame to do on YouTube. But you also have to have everything identical. Identical, head shell identical. I mean everything. It's system and all that stuff, and I just didn't want to do that for the purpose of this video. Plus, that's a subjective type of test. You want an objective test where somebody can hook this up to some equipment and test, frequency response and all that kind of garbage. So, I think that's all I wanted to cover, at least with these two sitting side by side. Now let's look at kind of the which one I think is the better turntable, and I'm gonna preface it by saying the better turntable for the money, right? As I go into the end of the video here. Okay, bear with me while I fumble through this. I'm actually changing my video editing software, so I'm kind of in a transition period right now. So here's a kind of a side-by-side comparison on the specs for each one. Specifically, what I wanted to show you was the weight and the dimensions. So here are the specific dimensions I rounded up when I was talking about them in the video. But you can see the weight difference, 15 kilograms versus 33. And then the specific sizes of the LT30 and the PX3. As mentioned previously, the PX3 is a little bit smaller and quite a bit lighter, I guess, if you look at the percentage, right? Difference between the two. And I think I was saying 6 pounds, which, yeah, I guess that's 6 pounds. So features of each, just a quick rundown. Quartz lock for both, auto sizing on the LT30, manual sizing only on the PX3, manual auto speed select on the LT30, manual speed select on the PX3. And when I say auto speed select, I mean you don't have to specify a record size or anything like that. You just hit start and it does it. They both repeat. They were both manufactured somewhere around 1981. And when I did my eBay check for prices, right, I found $750 for a working LT30. And these are the high end. I mean, I think you could probably knock $150 to $100 off of each one of these. If you were deliberate, you could find one at a better price. So this was high end for the LT30, $750. Parts machines were $350. The PX3, $800, and parts machines, $500. Now, naturally, that's a snapshot in time. When you watch this a month from now, you could totally find different sales amounts out there. That's just kind of the nature of the beast. And as mentioned earlier, this is also a diatone LT3. So which one did I select? Right, so here's kind of my smiley face, neutral face, sad face chart. So dimension-wise, they're almost identical, right? So, and I'm happy with the size of both. Neither one is like a complete beast. Neither one is dainty. So in terms of the dimensions and the weight, pretty even. Aesthetics, I personally prefer the LT30 over the PX3. I just think it's a better looking turntable. Price, I think for what you get, considering these are linear trackers, I'm not real excited about the price of either one. Naturally, like I mentioned earlier, you can get into the LT30 for a little bit less, the PX3 for a little bit more. But if I'm going to take, you know, my money and buy a turntable, I think I mentioned in the next segment, you know, there are much better options out there. Function of each one, function was pretty even across the board for both of them. So you know, naturally your mileage may vary on that. Again, you know, I'm not real excited about linear tracking turntables. Period. So I think they were even. And then other, you know, I think I would almost maybe the function would be a smiley face here for the automatic record selection, and then maybe this would be neutral. But I think other, adding in that maintenance piece, I think I would actually reverse these and put smiley face here and kind of neutral face here, because this is more of a pain in the butt to service. So if you look at all of those, right, you can kind of see how I came up with the one that I feel should come out on top. So there you have it, the Mitsubishi one. Now I will say that's we're probably from the perspective of somebody who wants to just buy one and use it. Sorry for the crappy lighting. I would definitely take the Mitsubishi because I like the looks better than the Yamaha. They're so evenly matched though. But if I were to pick one of these up to service, let's say I was going to get a bargain, right, to service one of these, or maybe to try to flip, I would go for the Yamaha because I think it's easier to work on. So from the consumer perspective, the Mitsubishi; from the technician perspective, the Yamaha, right? Most of you are going to be watching this from the consumer perspective, so in that case, the Mitsubishi wins, right? I just think it's a better looking turntable. It's sexy. It's a sexy turntable. It's very close to my Denon, right? It's got that same look. I really like that look. So, Mitsubishi wins. If you like these types of videos, please let me know. Also, leave what you would pick in the comments. If you have experience with both of these, which one did you prefer? Right? Let me know what you think. And if you like to see these types of videos, which people typically do just based upon the view count, I will try to do some more in the future when the opportunity arises. I don't always have two kind of near top of the line linear trackers at the same time. So, as always, if you like what you see, hit like, hit subscribe, and I will catch you all in the next video.